Mulligan, do-over, second chance, free turn, call it whatever you want, but the bottom line is that the Republican Central Committee is getting yet another chance of filling the open county commissioner's seat vacated early last year. Tim, what should they do differently this year?
I think probably the one thing they're going to be leaned on to do differently is to submit 3 names as opposed to 1. You know, we say they got a Mulligan, they also kind of got a golf club over their head from the governor, who said that last year it was pretty clear that he felt that he was getting 1 name, and so that took away his choices that he could have submitted to the Senate for final approval. And I think it's pretty clear he does not want that to happen again this time. So instead of getting 1 hand-picked candidate, the Central Committee is probably going to be leaned on to kind of play by the book and give 3 nominees instead of 1.
I think that's one of the most critical pieces that they can do. That, and frankly, the other thing that I think they need to do differently is I think if people apply, they need to be interviewed. My understanding was last time there were some folks that didn't get interviewed. That was a rumor.
Or they had been interviewed for a previous submission, and they were like, well, we interviewed you once already. We don't need to interview you a second time.
So, you know, I think, and I don't know what the exact turn of events was to cause them to recommend Mr. Spong, whether it was a relationship that he had with Terry Baker and there was influence there. I don't know.
So what I actually read on that was that the reason they selected Spong was due to community feedback saying that's the person we want. Now, I don't know who actually provided that feedback, but that was what I had read that was actually issued by the Central Committee.
Okay.
So, now something I do want to say though, as far as the submitting 3 names to Hogan, while Hogan can request that, he cannot require it. The Maryland Constitution is very clear in that they only have to provide 1 name.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to accept that 1 name.
Correct.
So, you know, there's an opportunity on his side to even the playing field if he doesn't like their name.
Yeah.
But who would have known? I mean, you know, if you look at what Mr. Spong had done previously, he was with Leadership Washington County for a while, for an interim period. He was a very successful principal at an elementary school in Washington County. So, and quite frankly, you know, I don't think what he posted was racist. I frankly think that the situation with was trumped up a little bit. I think.
Now, I also remember you saying so long, Spong.
No. I think it was very poor judgment.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was very poor judgment. I would have never. I don't think he. Let me rephrase that, because one of the producers is giving me looks off camera. I don't think he intended it to be racist. I don't think he saw it as racist. I think others did.
But I think that when you enter the political arena, you have to be very careful about what you're saying, how it can be interpreted, especially with the political climate that is currently on the national level. With a certain candidate, you have to be very careful about.
But the certain candidate is getting away with it.
I know, but is that right? It's not.
Well, I mean, is he getting away with it? You know, we haven't seen
New
all the.
Hampshire says otherwise.
New Hampshire says otherwise, but you know, that's only 2 states now that we've had primaries in. So we'll see.
I think that might have been part of the reason why he felt so comfortable posting what he did. Possibly, he might have just been taking advantage of the lax.
I don't know. It's tough. You know,
I can't get into his mind, but
it's
hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight is definitely
not such a great thing to do.
You know, it's very unfortunate because you know I think that he actually did mean well as far as being a county commissioner. Okay, but then sometimes you don't realize that when you're in the public eye. Okay, that's not just while you're at the county commissioner meetings. You're always in the public eye. And I think maybe he kind of let that slip his mind and maybe didn't exercise the best judgment. And it is unfortunate because we didn't really get to see, you know, what he would actually end up doing as a county commissioner other than his brief tenure.
Now, with that said, do you think that the Central Committee will look at candidates' social media past, perhaps?
They'd be crazy not to.
Yeah.
They'd be absolutely crazy not to.
You know, the series of events that the Republican Central Committee got to participate in over the last year with not one, not two, but 3 vacancies, 2 of which they created, right? It seemed to me that they were feeling their oats, for lack of a better term. And, you know, I think they thought that they could do no wrong. And obviously, you know, we all make mistakes. And I'm not going to hold that against anyone, but I hope that they are more cautious in what they do this time around.
Well, you know, and actually Ron Bowers and I were actually talking a little bit today about this whole issue. And, you know, he and I, you know, we were talking, and he brought up a great point in that we really don't want people in county commissioner or city of Hagerstown council or wherever where everyone always agrees. Okay? And I really kind of wonder if maybe the Central Committee was trying to pick someone who's going to always agree with everyone else on the county commissioners. And the problem with that is if there's no discourse, if there's no, you know, well, I don't think we should do it this way, I think we should do it another way. If we don't have any of that, then nothing's going to actually ever change. It's always just going to be the same thing over and over.
I think that's exactly right, because you got 2 questions here. You got 1, is the person qualified? 2, does the person believe every last thing that we believe?
Right.
Or certain members on the commission believe? And ideally, the Central Committee would make its appointments based on the first question, is the person qualified?
Right.
Unfortunately, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it again, we're going to see the Central Committee pick 3 candidates that agree in lockstep with the committee and the people who are
And what
on
are
the
those
commission.
litmus tests? From people that were interviewed in the last cycle, the litmus tests were as follows. Number 1, do you support the Tea Party?
Right.
And number 2, do you not support a government that is, well, what do you call it? Charter form of government.
Right.
They don't like charter, they like Tea Party. That's what was reported in the last cycle. Now, again, I think that's short-sighted, in my view, to make the decision based on that.
Tim, how open are the nomination process, I mean, to the public? Do we know how they,
We don't get to see the interviews now.
do you,
No.
do you think
No,
it would be in their best interest?
That said, we had several people come out after the interviews and said, here's what they asked us.
Right.
And there's some very revealing questions.
Right.
One of the things they wanted to know, do you support spending $300,000 or $400,000 of taxpayers' money to wipe out gnats? And that was a big Tea Party issue for some reason. I guess, who knows why. But that was one of the questions that they asked.
Well, and you know, something that I saw posted in one of the Facebook groups, and this is an absolutely wonderful idea, is once you have your pool of candidates for this nomination, you know, yeah, we can't have a special election, but that doesn't mean we can't have a candidate forum for, you know, just the public to be informed of what these people believe.
Thank you, Ken.
Good luck with that.
Hagerstown has again declared war on the owners of run-down and abandoned properties. Will they win? Our panel weighs in.